Hello, my Indigo Roses. Welcome to the Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm your host, Alyce Dylan. Big loves, big loves. Hello, dear hearts, you beautiful, scintillating souls, you resilient anchors of humanity. Oh, it's a bit crazy out there, and that's escalating. And I really think we can see properly now all the damage done by the medical interventions. So be peaceful. Know this is happening, and you are not crazy. It is crazy out there. The crazy is escalating out there. I came across something that provides me the perfect opportunity to really show you what I'm saying when in Alone in a Sea of Normal, I talk about shifting perspectives. I talk about how if we, as the indigos, the HSPs, the empaths, the intuitives, if we can shift perspective just a little, it's not a huge shift, and we can see the world as it is rather than as it has been documented, the chains come off, the lights come on, and we start to see ourselves and the world around us in truth rather than framed within a stuck system. So let me give a little intro to that. One of the labels, so we were given labels of Sixth Sensed, and then recently they decided, no, we're not that. They're going to reclaim that Sixth Sense for some other thing. Then we had ESP, remember? Extrasensory perception. No, we're going to change that. Now you're going to be called highly sensitive people, some of us. Others of us were given the ADHD label. I think it really just depends on the white coat that you're dealing with. They might, they dish out labels like Smarties. Oh, and somewhere in the neurodivergent box is where you can find most of us. Empaths, I think, they qualify as highly sensitive people. But still, it's a box of unfitting parts. I don't know if you have a brother or an uncle, or perhaps you have a workshop. And in the workshop, that's very organized. Like all the tools are there, all the hammers and nails are there, all the, like a grinder, and all those things are stacked neatly over there. And inevitably, in that workshop, there will be a box, normally a wooden box, of other stuff that doesn't fit. And I tend to think of the neurodivergent box like that, like we're the other stuff that doesn't fit with the white coat narrative. And the white coat narrative is one that on the outside looks like it was formed to preserve or support mental health. The, in inverted commas, conspiracy theorists will tell us that the neurodivergent box was formed for the throwaways that don't fit the globalist control narrative. Okay, so now I've set the stage. So what are the indigos? Well, we're different. We're the new rendition. We're the updated version of humanity. 200 years ago, something happened. And since then, in greater and greater numbers, indigo children have been born, or during their lifetimes, people are waking up. When we say waking up, what do we mean? Going from your stock standard 5-sensed human experience to an elevated additional stream of information. So normals, as we call them, are people who walk around with 5 senses on the go. They see, hear, touch, something. They're on go. They receive information either through reading it, seeing it, touching it, accumulating it from books or from what other people say, etc. The indigos, or the highly sensitive people, or the empaths, or a whole box, a whole neurodivergent box that I call the spiritually perceptive. This whole box of people also receives an additional stream of information. And we receive this information from our higher selves, our spirit selves. And so our spirit selves is a couple of layers of frequency above, where we as human beings occupy space and time. And our spirit selves are elevated above that. Our spirits, which have gone through the process of developing, they've lived many incarnations up to human manifestation, and now here we are in human form, except we chose to be on the leading edge. So we chose to come into human manifestation right at the leading edge of the evolution of humanity, where the human experience has evolved from 5-sensed to 5 senses plus spiritual perception. So 5 senses plus an additional stream of information. Now that stream of information can be broken down into a number of different mechanisms of interpretation of that information. Some people are sentient, it means they just know. Some people are voyant, it means they see. Some people are audient, it means they hear. It doesn't matter. The translation device doesn't matter. What matters is that we perceive outside of the confines of the 5 senses. All right. Okay. Gosh, it took a while to set the scene. All right. I'm going to now play you something that I found. It is from, let me give due credit. It was from a podcast or a YouTube channel called Live in Self-Discovery. So they basically recite this white coat explanation of ADHD. And so I want to share it with you here so that you hear this truth. I mean, there's a lot of truth in this. And then I want to ask you to shift perspective with me and see if you can see it in a different way. All right, here we go. This is about ADHD. And if you haven't made that connection yet, a lot of the white coats, one of the name flips that we went through was we weren't indigo children, we were just undiagnosed ADHD people. So understand this, the white coats have formed their own printer's trays. They've formed their own grid. So the normals have come up with these categorizations and allocations and demarcations of people and their brains and the different kinds of brains that exist. But what you're going to hear now is really a very much 5-sensed analysis of what they now categorize as ADHD. All right, let's take a listen.
ADHD is one of the most painful things to live with because it's contradictory. You're capable of anything and motivated to do almost nothing. You understand everyone around you, but can't explain what's happening inside yourself. You have brilliant ideas, but no patience to finish a single one. You're a genius who can't handle an email, an extrovert who needs to be completely alone, a person full of advice who can't follow any of it. And the worst part, you always know. You can see exactly what you need to do, and still you can't get there. That gap between knowing and doing is where the shame lives. That's what nobody talks about, not the distraction, the shame. Because no one ever told you this isn't a character flaw. This is a brain that was never properly explained to you.
All right, so there it is. Let's go through this now. We see the potential. That's true. We do, because indigos, spiritually perceptive, one of the things we're really good at is we're good at seeing and knowing our potential and the potential of all other people. He says we even know what we need to do to get there. No, that's not true. We know what the normal say we need to do to get there. In other words, we see the potential both of ourselves and of the people around us. And then there is a lot of information available in motivational manifestos that tell us, okay, in the morning, you must make a to-do list, or then you must sit down for 25 minutes, and you must really go at it, and then you must, and then you must, and then you must. Yeah. And we don't buy that. We don't buy that, and there is very little you can do. We may implement one of those systems. It's like, okay, all right, nothing else I seem to be doing is working, so let me do one of these. And maybe we'll even stick to it for a few days. Maybe we'll even, force ourselves, like with chains on. We will force ourselves physically to follow one of these programs, and it will feel inauthentic and false, and we know this is not going to work. We know absolutely this stuff is not going to get us where we want to be. Right. And then we are called procrastinators, or we're called lazy, or we're called, ADHD, that we don't have we can't focus our attention on something. That's more true because we see abundance. We see abundant potential everywhere we look. There's that potential there. There's that potential there. Oh, I could be doing this. Oh, I could be doing that. And so it's like a field of butterflies. It's like, oh, wow, look at all of this beauty and abundance. Look at all of these things I could be doing. That's true. What's not true is that you cannot understand an indigo, sixth sense, or spiritually perceptive mind unless you have one. I don't care how many white coats they throw at this. The white coats cannot understand it because they don't share the spiritual perception. Let me tell you what's really going on. You know you have the potential to be a world famous landscape gardener. Let's just go with that. You know you could be designing landscapes and gardens for the royalty in France. You could be designing landscapes for the most beautiful places on earth. You know that you have a special, you can hear plants, you can communicate with them. You know how to get this done. And then in the normie world, you're presented with a bunch of a manual on how to get this done, and you just know this is not right for me. I'm reading all this, and it's not right. It's not going to work. And so you don't do it, and people look at you and say that you're a failure, and you feel ashamed because you know your potential. Okay, if you shift your perspective and you know yourself as a sixth sense, spiritually perceptive individual, what will ring true for you is that if you start at the manifestation itself, so if you go every day for 20 minutes in your mind to the most beautiful garden that you have ever created, and you have been paid excessively to do so, and people love your work, and all the plants love you, and you love the process, and you love what you're doing, and you are abundant and blissful and excited and exuberant. If you go every day, in the evening, maybe just before bed, to this vision of you in the place you know you want to be, you go there and you peg your flag in that knowing And you absolutely sit in the fulfillment of it. You sit there in the beauty and the glory of it. Then all of your fairies, all of your supporters, everything in you will conspire to get you there. And the way there will open up, it will unfold before you, and the steps will be effortless, and you will want to do absolutely every piece of it. You will not feel forced. You will not feel resistant. You won't get stuck because every step of it will be beautiful. You know that's the way to do it. You know that these motivational manuals and these Tony Robbins processes are just not the way to get there. Not for the indigo, not for the spiritually perceptive. It's, nah. And those processes, when the five senses implement them and they find a measure of success, there's this massive amount of energy they need to expend to manifest their visions or their dreams or whatever. The sixth sense, the spiritually perceptive, we know that it needs to feel good. We know that every step can be beautiful, that there is nothing that we need to force. There is a way to our dream that does not include pain and sacrifice and huge mountainous climbs. We know that. So when the white coats look at ADHD, they think they just need to teach us how to navigate our brains to get focused and to get to our end goal. And so they need to put down more rules and more steps and more plans to implement and more to-do lists and more. We know that this is meant to be beautiful. We know that this will unfold as love does. We know that every step on this journey will feel like a celebration. And we know what fun it's going to be when we get there. And the next dream will roll out after that, and the next dream, and the next dream, and yay! It's all going to be magnificent. However, if you are a sixth sense being trying to live five sense rules, you will get stuck because the world is no longer that. The old world, the world of massive action, the world of forcing things, the world of dogged determination until you half break yourself by the time you get there. That world's gone. That world's over. What we know in our heart and soul is that it's beautiful, is that the rollout, the manifestation, the steps towards are as beautiful as the final destination. We know that. And until that emerges, a whole big knowing in us says, I don't want to play here. I don't want to do this. I refuse to take one suffering, painful step down this road because something in me knows that's what is right for me will feel like bliss and joy and yay and delight. I know that. Yeah? You understand the shift in perspective? So, we do things differently, not because we're stupid, not because we're deficient, not because we're neurodivergent. We do things differently because we know more. We can see more, and we will accept nothing less for ourselves than yay, yummy, and woohoo, you. You see? You see? We did not come here once to suffer. We did not do that. We came here for the joy. We came here for the fun. So, ADHD, we are not broken. We are not deficient. We are not, we're divergent. We're divergent from the normies. So keep your normal paradigms. If that massive action and all of that works for you, yay, go for it. What we will do is we will follow love. Always.